Hey, welcome back to the channel. You may notice that we're not on Little Mountain Country today. We're on a different save game. We're in Middleburgh, New York. And this one here, I'm doing something different with it. I'm kitbashing this one together to set a pretty specific scene and theme. I'm going for mid to late 1980s on a North American farm. Specifically, like I say, this is on the Middleburgh map, and Middleburgh is a real place. It's in mid-state New York, not too far from Albany. And this map, it's pretty heavily modded. Most of the equipment, I think I kept the combine from the original starting farm. Everything else I've swapped out, and I'm trying to pick interesting, unique equipment to play with here, instead of just stuff that you get out of the regular in-game vanilla stuff. Just to have something different to look at. So what we have here, it's a dairy farm, of course, because, you know, I always run dairy farms for some reason. And that means we're going to be dealing with a lot of bale. Now, what you see this Chevy half-ton pulling here, this is one of the bale trailers from the mod hub, so it's available to everyone, and I'll put a link up to it. It's a pretty nice trailer. But you'll see coming up into view here on the other side of this Chevy grain truck, right up by the house, in between the house and the garage, there's a flat deck truck sitting there. It's an International Loadstar 1600 that I picked up not off the mod hub. It's off of another mod site that I don't remember. I'll place a link to it in the description. And it's a really nice mod. It's really well done. The model is fantastic. The only thing is, though, is it doesn't have Universal Autoload on. And for some people, that's fine. Some people, they don't like running Universal Autoload. It's a preference thing. If you're going for full immersion and realism, then don't use Universal Autoload. Sometimes I play with it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like stacking bales, sometimes I just want to get the things done. So what I want to do is I want to take that International grain truck, kit it out with Universal Autoload, like this little trailer here, and put the two of them together to be my bale handling rig. Because this trailer here, it comes with a set of ramps that lets me load my skid steer loader on the back, so we can play around like that. So this is going to require a little bit of modding, and it's going to require a little bit of tweaking. We're going to need to use the Giants editor, and it's a pretty straightforward modification. We just have to take our time and go about it in an organized way. There it is. Isn't that a gorgeous looking old truck? I figure that's probably about a 1968, 1970-ish model, and I think having it set up to pull bales would be a real asset to the farm here. So what are we going to need for this? We're going to need a text editor. I use Notepad++. Most of the world uses Notepad++, but I mean, you could use the built-in Windows text editor or whatever you happen to have, whatever your favorite flavor is. We're going to need the Giants editor. I'm not going to get into getting that, but Google Giants editor. It's on the Giants website. You'll have to sign up for a developer account. Don't worry, it's free. It's all free. They have a bunch of tools there. And that's about it. Oh, you'll need some an unzipping software. I know it's built into Windows now, but I like to use 7-Zip. That's the one that I've always pretty much used. You can use WinRAR, whatever, command line if you're hardcore. I don't know if WinZip is still a thing. Whatever, as long as you can zip and unzip files, that's what we need, because our mod packages come in zip format. So we're just going to unhook our Chevy and park it over here, and the first thing we want to check out is to make sure that our International will hook up to that trailer and look pretty decent. Because if it doesn't, all is for naught. We'll just abandon the project right here, and I guess I'll have to figure out something else to record. So let's hop in our International, and see on our F1 menu there's nothing about autoload. And I think it's a different menu for console players. universally called the help menu. I call it the F1 menu because that's the button I press to get that menu up. So let's bring this thing around, and we'll back it into the trailer. I think this truck has a pin hitch on the back by default, but let's see what it does. There we go. A little bit more, a little bit more. Give it a little tweak. And there we go. There we go. Okay, we're hooked up. How does it look? Well, it looks pretty reasonable from here. I'll crouch down there and see how it looks. Yeah, okay, that works. The bracket for the hose is a little bit close. In real life, that would tear off the first time you go around a corner, but for our purposes, that'll be fine. And, you know, maybe down the road we can learn how to move that back a couple inches, and it'll work out just fine. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape. We've got our straps on the back. Let's go jump into the next part here and get ourselves up to do some very, very light modding to get Autoload set up on our truck. And here we are in Explorer. We've got our folder Kitbash Korner set up for this project, and in that I have a subfolder called Original Files, and in that is our original file, just in case something goes sideways with it. There's always a possibility, and having that backup means all we have to do is grab that, drop it back into our mods folder, and we're back in business. So we've got our mod here. It's in a zip archive, and we're going to take our unarchiver of choice. In my case, I'm using 7-zip, and we're going to extract it to its own separate folder, comme ça. And we're going to rename that folder. We're going to add UAL to the end of it to differentiate it from the original that's in our mod folder. And this will come into play when we zip it back up and drop it into the mod folder. So we're going to open up our mod desk, our mod description folder, and we're going to add UAL to all of these lines here, UAL. And we can add our name to the mod's authors if we want. Deep Sky Farms. And for our version number, we'll increment it by 0.1. Everything else can stay the same in here. We're done with this. Now we're going to open up the International 1600 Flatbed XML file. That's our vehicle XML file. And we're just going to skip all the way down to the bottom because we don't need to touch any of this. And over on the GitHub page for Universal Autoload is the README for Universal Autoload. And this is linked to from the ModHub page. It's pretty easy to find. Google Universal Autoload GitHub, and it'll take you right here, or I'll include a link in the description as well. And we're going to go down to about line 150. We're going to scroll right on down here. And he's got some sample code down here. And this bit here, line 150 through line 156, this is the base configuration that we're going to need. So we're just going to highlight that, copy it back into here. And we're going to drop it right in at the end. And we're just going to clean up this. Okay. And we're going to clean up this extra space here. Now, what this adds Universal Autoload to the configuration. And the key line in this is the loading area. So what this does is this specifies how big the loading cube is and where it is in relation to the center of the vehicle. So we've got the width, the height, and the length. That's our size. And the offset, you've got three sets of numbers here. Offset is how far it's offset from the center of the center origin of the vehicle. So in this case, it's 0, 1.5, and minus 1.055 from the vehicle origin, which is 0, 0, 0. This here, we're going to figure this out using the Giants editor in a little bit. But there's one more line that we want to add on here because we're building a bale trailer. So we'll go back over to the GitHub and you'll scroll down a few more lines and you'll see configuration parameters. Now, in the options here, you'll see an option for is bale trailer. And this is one that we're going to set to true. And you'll see an example of this up here in the Universal Autoload, this here on 167, 168. Options, no loading if unfolded, true, is curtain trailer false. This line, this is setting up a specific trailer. And we're going to take this, we're just going to copy that like this. And we're going to take that over into our text editor, drop it in. And we're just going to change this part here to is bale trailer. Did I typo that? I sure did. Is bale trailer equals true, and the rest of this we can delete. We'll leave show debug equals false. And there we go. So we save this off. And then our next stop is in the Giants editor where we figure out how big and where our loading cube is going to be. So here we are in the Giants editor. There's instructions for this on the GitHub as well. Scroll down a little bit further, right down to the end. So line 230, to measure the loading area parameters with the Giants editor. So step 1, create a unit cube and set translate Y to 0.5. So in the editors, we go to create primitives cube, and then over on the right-hand menu here, translate Y goes to 0.5, and that moves it like that. Now, the next thing he wants us to do is freeze transformations with the default option. The reference node should move to the center of the lower face. So with our cube still selected, we go Edit, Freeze Transformations. With the default options, click Apply and watch the cube. Okay, our origin is now on the lower face, so we can close that. We're good. Next up is use interactive placement to set the height. So with our box selected, we press Control B, left click on the bed of the trailer. Okay, back in the editor, we've still got our cube selected. Do Control B and click on the bed of the trailer. Right there. Okay, so what that's done is that set its location in the y-axis or on the y-plane. Now, next step is to get our x set, and that will be back to 0. Okay, so we've done this, manually set both x and z coordinates back to 0. So we go translate x 0, okay, and that centers us back up on the bed, and z to 0, and that brings us right over the origin of our model. Now we can start tweaking things to make this fit. As long as we don't move the y, remember, translate y 1.235, that's where that's going to be. That positions that. So drag that back. I'm just dragging on the blue arrow to drag it roughly here. I'm going to eyeball it to center. And now we can start fixing our scale. And for scale X, we want it to scale out to the width of there, less a little bit. We should leave a little bit of clearance because there's those stakes on there. So we'll do that. And I'm going to guess and say that's about 2. Maybe 2.25. 2.5 looks good. Then we leave our, then we'll do our Z. Say 4, 5, 5. Oh, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. See, it's not clipping into the front of the rack there, and it's not hanging off the back like that. So we want it just about right there. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then we'll scale our Y. That's going to determine how high we stack things. And I'm going to guess 2.5 is going to look about right. Yeah, that seems about right. That'll give us about 2 or 3 stacks of bales. Okay, so we don't need to touch anything else in here. We've positioned our loading cube. We can go back into our XML and we will remember these. X is 0. We'll copy this. You know what? And make this a nice round number here, 2.35. Yeah. So 0, 1.235 is translate Y. And I'll show you where that goes. 1.235 is Y. 1.235, that's our Y. And negative 2.35 is X. Minus 2.35 is X. So that's positioned the cube. Now to size the cube, we said our X was 2.5, our Y was 2.5, and Z, which is our length, was 5. And it's as easy as that. So we save that off, double check that that is saved off, and then we go back into Explorer. And with your archiver, we go 7-zip and add it to that. Okay, and then we take this, cut, and this is our Farming Simulator mods folder. Drop it in here. And there we go. Okay, so next step is we load up the game, cross our fingers, and hope everything works. We'll see you in a minute. And here we are. We're in the game. We're in the store. And you'll see here's our original truck. And there's our 1600 flatbed UAL that we just worked on. So far, so good. Let's buy one of those. Yep. Okay. And we'll go pick it up at the store, bring it back here, and see if it works with the bales. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so we're almost home with our truck, and I'm going to show you the help menu, F1. See, we now have new stuff in here. Autoload bale mode is currently disabled, plus we've got a bunch of other stuff related to Universal Autoload. That means that so far, so good. Things are working. We haven't broken anything, and we're just going to rip around the corner here because I've got a couple of stacks of bales that I dropped off here earlier. And if we pull up beside this and switch to our outside camera, so Control, left shift, R. Nice as pie. Look at that. That worked out just fine. All right, so we got it to load. Let's see how it works for unloading. Just gonna kind of back it in here next to this tree. Something like this. Bring our F1 menu. So our unloading side is left. You can choose left or right. And to unload is left shift I. There we go. That works just fine. Now we're going to try it one more time with some skids. I've got some empty skids or some full skids of chicken feed over here. Just to make sure that that part of it is working. I'm sure it will, but let's run into that bucket. I should probably fix the brakes on that. So left shift R, we've got our trigger. Nice. Nice. I wonder if it'll work with both. And you see our Chevy pickup truck over there. It had it, whoever built that mod put Universal Autoload on it already. So let's see, left shift R. Now that looks like a farm truck. Couple of skids, couple of bales, and we're ready to go to town. All right, thanks for coming out. Thanks for taking this little journey. And if you want to try this yourself, I'll leave some reference material down in the comments. So if you like us, leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a subscribe. If you want us to do more of these, tell us. If you don't want us to do more of these, tell us that too. Thanks for coming out. It was a pleasure visiting with you, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, so this thing is even cooler than I thought it was. I had to try it out. I put the stake bed kit on it, and it's got a Sears Die Hard battery in it, and a really nicely detailed engine bay. And the hood lifts up from the center. Yeah. Here we go. Close it. This is mouse control. Close that. So to fold up the sides is X. Yeah, fold up the sides is X, and to fold up the back is Z. Now that's a proper looking farm truck. All right, thank you very much.